Okay, everyone, thank you. Welcome to Agile Hartford, our November monthly meeting. For any of you that are joining for the first time, we are a designated group of local user group of the Agile Alliance, Scrum Alliance, Agile Leadership Network, all the great national organizations with Agile. We're centered in Hartford, Connecticut, but we do have people that join us from literally all over the world. So this year we've had people join us from Australia, all over the United States. So welcome. Glad you're here. Here's our board members. So from the lower left, there's myself, Steve Nunziata. Above me is Larry Bach. In the middle is Janet Custer. Vince Sukraj is in the top right, and Dave Kirsnowski in the lower right. Dave's not here tonight. Dave's out celebrating. He will be joining Travelers right after Thanksgiving. So we wish him the best. So tonight there'll be a special, an email coming out to you, survey about tonight's presentation. So just let us know what you thought and what we can do to improve in Agile Hartford, what you'd like to see. This is a user community. We're always interested in your feedback and where you'd like to see the group go. We are here to serve the community. So please take a moment and reflect on that and let us know what we can do to improve. How to find us. So agilehartford@gmail.com is our email box. You can always find us there. We are on Twitter, Instagram. If you go to LinkedIn and look for Agile Hartford in groups, we are out there. We've been out there for about 5 years now. And we also, if you go out on YouTube, there is an Agile Hartford YouTube channel. So for several presentations this year, we've recorded and have put out there. So if you ever miss something and you just want to reference it or you want to go back to and take a look at it, go out to YouTube. Also, our website, agilehartford.org, we have all the details from our previous presentations, which generally include links to the video, but also the presentation materials themselves. So great reference. If you need PDUs or SEUs, it's also a great reference to know the date and time of those events, the subject matter. So please use that as a reference if you ever need to track any professional hours. So again, our gold sponsor in this journey, which has been going for 5 years now, from day one, Alliance Group's been a great partner to Agile Hartford, and we'd like to thank them again for sponsoring tonight's event. So Diane, would you like to say something?
Sure. So those that don't know me, I'm Diane Hiller. I'm a senior recruiter with Eliason Group. I think Rich Thompson usually does the intros here, but he is not available tonight. But Eliason, for those that don't know, we're a national strategic consulting and talent solutions firm focused on technology. We have an agile practice, a cloud project practice, managed services, life sciences, and a few more as well. Our national agile practice is where we offer advisory services and training and coaching and really helping to put together some great teams for organizations as well, and really helping them through all phases of their transformation and into Agile. So I work out of the Connecticut branch of Eliason. We are super busy as an organization. We have a lot of Scrum Master needs of all varying kinds and Agile coaching opportunities throughout the organization. And with our new remote opportunities that people are, able to, I guess, be able to work on many different types of projects in different areas and for different clients than maybe we've been able to offer in the past. So it's been a great opportunity there. So if anybody's looking or know anybody that is available coming off of a project, I'd love to talk to them. So, but we just love Agile Hartford. We obviously want to, support all of the user group and all of the speakers that they're able to attract and engage with for these events. So we're looking forward to tonight's presentation with Derek. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Diane. As Diane mentioned, licensed in several industries. So I am now officially an Agile coach in the life sciences group. So welcome back. So December 2021, we've got some great things coming up that we want to share tonight. We are doing 3 events in December. If you need PDUs or SEUs to close out the year, you've got no excuse. We've got everything going on here. So Wednesdays in December, December 1st, I will be giving a lunch and learn 12 to 1 on disciplined Agile, which is basically, what is it? How am I supposed to think about disciplined Agile as an Agile coach? If I'm familiar with SAFe or Scrum or Kanban, what is disciplined Agile? What is it all about? How am I intended to, how could I potentially employ it in an organization? What does it do for me that other Agile methods don't do? So if you're interested in that, you'll get a link in tonight's survey email if you'd like to sign up for that through Eventbrite. That's Wednesday, December 1st, 12 to 1 Eastern. December 8th, we are having a live in-person event downtown Hartford at City Steam. Those of you that have been around for a while know this is always a great event. We have hors d'oeuvres, food, drinks. We have a great speaker. Great time to get together, see everyone face to face. And we've all been through a lot the past couple of years. So this is a great opportunity to come together, see each other again in person, and catch up. The guest list will be limited to 75 people due to restrictions in the room. I cannot tell you right now what City Steam's policy will be regarding masks or distancing, but part of it is we do have a limitation of 75 people in the room. So if you've attended Agile Hartford events in the past quarter, you will likely get a personal invitation. So this is not being opened up worldwide. This is basically for you, the people that come to the meetings consistently and engage with the community. We want to thank you for doing that. So you get first crack at registration. That will also be coming out tonight for those of you that have been engaged in the past quarter and have come to our events. And obviously it's in the Hartford area. So Larry and Derek, who live in Texas, unless they want to pay for a plane ticket, it's not that kind of group. So we're not PMI. Let me put it that way. Then if you're unable to attend, Larry and Derek, on December 8th, December 15th, we have a great event with Dave West from scrum.org. Dave is a fantastic speaker. We have a partnered event with Agile Rhode Island, so it should be a good a community out there for folks to engage. Increasing the velocity of value. Dave's given this talk before. It's gone over really well. And again, David's a fantastic speaker. I'd encourage you, if you can, make that one as well. So a lot happening in December. Please come to any or all of them, whatever interests you. We've got a lot going on. All right. So this evening's presenter. So Derek Lane is an Agile coach, so he asked the provocative question, how do you know how Agile you really are? So Derek's going to talk to us about the 20-day agility challenge, how it works, and how you can use it to improve your own agility according to the Agile Manifesto. So that said, Derek, I am going to stop sharing, and I will turn it over to you, sir.
All right. Now for the always scary part of the program. See if technology works.
Looks like we're good.
Looks like we're good. All right, let me make another adjustment here on the big screen. Well, thanks to Larry and Steve for inviting me. Early this year, February 2021, after a number of conversations, kind of occurred to me something was going on. Now, I knew it was going on till end of last year, but like a lot of people, I had family stuff and virus stuff and all kinds of other things going on. So I didn't really put as much time into it as I kind of thought I might. But at some point in January, it occurred to me that in February, it was going to be the 20th anniversary of the Agile Manifesto. So I thought I've been working with user groups and helped organize a lot of user groups and different meetups and things for a number of years. Excuse me. And I wanted to figure out, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like I've learned. I've been able to work with some really smart people and make a lot of mistakes and learn from them. So what could I do to maybe give back to the industry? And after a conversation with a number of different people and using a lot of different techniques I've learned, we ended up with something that we now call the 20-day agility challenge. So tonight, I want to kind of give you a little bit of exposure to what it is, but also explain to you what its purpose is. Because a lot of information, a lot of stuff out there is to take someone from, I've heard about Agile, I've done something with Agile, my brother-in-law told me they're doing this thing with Agile, my boss said we're going to be doing Agile, to wherever they're at. And that's one of the weaknesses that I feel like is going on in our industry with regard to, and by industry, I mean product development. I'm not specifically talking about software development. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But product development in general, but to extrapolate that a little more, Agile is you know, not just for technology. It's not just for software development. It's not just for business. And I wanted to give people a way of applying a lot of what I've learned, like I said, both through trial and error and by making a lot of mistakes and finding out what works and why it works, when it works, how it works, to the degree that I've been able to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about some of that tonight. So that's really kind of the intent of tonight's discussion. If you guys have questions, feel free to jump in at any point in time. I'm not real good at catching the hands that get waved, so just jump in, or somebody else can, Steve or Larry or anybody can watch and see if there's a question, and they can keep me on time too, in case we're veering off guard. You know, definitely give me like a 10-minute warning track or something. So we'll start out here. Here's the official who are you, since most of you folks don't know me. I'm the world's first intergalactic self-certified barbecue life coach. Most people are completely unaware that this is even a thing, and that's because I invented it. And of course, the next thing is, well, how do you know? And I'll say, well, here's all this is stuff that I've made over the years. So I like to give a little bit of, you know, quote proof that I've done something, because that's what people ask you, right? They say, well, how do you know you're being agile? How do you know that being agile is better than something else? So I don't necessarily, not necessarily saying I'm good at this. I'm saying that I'm the first one to do it. And since no one else has declared to be the first intergalactic barbecue life coach, then I decided I would be that person. So, so on your behalf, I'm talking to aliens everywhere, at least the ones that are willing to talk about barbecue. As far as product development goes, background started in a very technical engineering type of role, and has progressed into much more software, and more recently and much more into how do organizations work, adult learning theory, how can we get more value with a lot of things. And it's nice to be able to talk to the technologists and the terminology they want, the business people and the terminology they want, and to try to help bridge that gap. As you can see, I practiced a number of different frameworks at trying to figure out how to do this. So I can definitely say, you know, and there's a bunch of them I've left off here. This is not an exhaustive list. That's why the yada, yada, yada. Because to me, this, like a lot of things in certifications, don't prove that you know anything. All this proves is that you tried something, or it proves that you understand enough terminology and jargon to fool somebody who doesn't understand that jargon. So again, to me, this doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but a lot of folks want to know this information, so I'll include it. I think maybe what's more characteristic of me is that I'm an early adopter and I'm a continuous learner. So what that means is that I tend to hear things or connect dots that a lot of people don't connect, because they're not necessarily looking under every rock that they come across. They're expecting everything to kind of already be figured out for them. A lot of times that's true, but unfortunately, a lot of times that's not the case. So to start with tonight, and what I'll do is, let me grab the URL here, and where it is, there it is. I'll throw this in the chat window so you guys can join this mural. And the whole point tonight to get started here is really for you guys to take one of these, any color you want, and answer this question up here in the top left corner: what is Agile? So feel free to, once you get in here, pick any color sticky, create your own. You don't have to use one of the ones I have. There's nothing magic there. I just tried to populate the queue a little bit. Feel free to add, type in there something that you believe is Agile. When someone says to you, what is Agile? How do you answer that question? Your boss comes to you and says, are you guys doing this thing in an Agile way? How do you know? what is it that you would respond? So there you go. Great job. Yeah, everybody jump in. This is the anonymous part of the program. Feel free to jump in and put whatever you think Agile is. So I, in lots of different contexts and lots of different groups, have this kind of discussion, and then it goes in different directions depending on what the group is and what we're trying to cover. And this is one of the first times I've tried to migrate a lot of this over to Mural as part of a discussion. So I'm anxious to see how it works with this group. Great. So we've got mindset, iterative approach to software development. Okay. The big mindset. Ability to adjust to changing circumstances gracefully, iterative and incremental development, focused collaboration to meet planned commitments, and ability to pivot as necessary, being open and flexible to change, flexible and customer focused. Agile is a set of methods, not to be confused with agility, which is a mindset, okay? Agile is ever evolving, okay? That's a characteristic that we might associate with it. Adaptation and adjustment. Is a mindset shift, lets workers set the pace, okay?
So they were a chatty group. So.
That's fine. That's what we're looking for. The whole point of this is to kind of have a conversation and see if there's something that we can explore. And in the process, hopefully you'll get a sense for what the 20-day agility challenge is and whether that's something you might be interested in. Or you might know somebody who's interested. Okay, so we've got several here. I'll try to group some of these together. We've got mindset here several times. Framework that empowers teams to address a business ask. Principal approach to delivering value. Iterative approach to software development. Here we've got set of methods. Where was the other software development one up here? Oh, it looks like it disappeared. All right, here's another mindset option. Delivering value, collaborative experimental approach to development, iterative approach to development, ability to adjust to changing circumstances gracefully, which would be flexible, ever evolving, adjustments, adaptation. Okay, looks like we've got some good things here. So anybody want to comment on a couple of these? Anything that you feel really strongly about? You want to make sure that that's understood in case some of the words weren't as verbose as you might feel like they might be.
Actually, I'd like to talk about the card where top yellow that says Agile is a set of methods of delivery, not to be confused with agility, which is a mindset. So that card specifically differentiates those two, and I'd love to understand that a little bit more.
Okay. I'm not sure who put that one there. Does whoever put that one there want to elaborate on the information that you had there?
Yes, I don't know if you guys can actually hear me.
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Yeah, the differentiation is basically, the inspiration is from, a diagram that was actually put out by DoD, where you're either being agile or you're doing agile, basically. So we can actually go ahead and follow all of these rules within the framework to do a number of things, follow the ceremonies. But in reality, unless and until we embrace those methods to actually really start looking at different ways of doing things, that increases the value for our customer, that's where the mindset starts to come in.
Does that answer your question, Rachel?
Not quite, but thank you for the explanation of why you separated those out.
And
My pleasure. Thank you.
well, we can talk a little bit more about that maybe a little later here. So if we get to the end here and you want to talk a little more about it, let me know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to propose something. I'm going to propose that Agile, by definition, which is the Agile Manifesto, is a set of four value pairs and 12 principles. Go to agilemanifesto.org. You basically have two web pages that, in my opinion, they are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one side of the coin without the other side of the coin, at least not in 3D space. And I make the point in one of the daily challenges in the 20-day agility challenge that we actually need to apply agility in 3D space. There's actually that's kind of a deep concept here to be able to apply this, but we don't need a two-dimensional definition of Agile. If we're going to achieve agility in the sense here, whether we're separating these two things out or not, something that's active and it's ongoing, we need it to be able to work in the 3D space. So I'll leave that thought there, but a lot of the things, and you guys have actually done a better job than as far as trying to stick with characteristics of Agile as opposed to the way Agile is most often defined, which is its practices. Having done this, I would say, I don't know, a couple hundred times, maybe across different groups, it's very common to see retrospectives and stand-ups and burn down charts and things as definitions of Agile. And there's none of those are listed in the Agile Manifesto, which is the definition. For anyone who's not familiar, the term Agile is applied to software development specifically, but in more general, the idea of creating products and responding to change in a dynamic way, being very value focused. That term was coined and decided in the second week of February in Snowbird, Utah, when they created the Agile Manifesto. The 17 people got together and signed it. Before then, anybody know what Scrum was called before then, or extreme programming, what those approaches to building software were called before they were called Agile?
Lightweight.
Lightweight methodologies. Yes, that's right. They were called that because compared to the alternatives, which were predominantly the waterfall, spiral, fusion, and the new kid on the block was the unified process, of which there are now several variations of that. But all of those were very big, very, very, they were expected to work for the frequency of software development. Remember, the release of one version of software was 2 to 5 year effort. This idea that we have today of doing things in months, or in a lot of cases multiple times a day, and releasing into production, that just was not considered to even possibly ever be possible. So the focus here is to really focus on, okay, what is Agile? What are we doing with this thing? Do we really have an understanding based on the definition of Agile, what it is? Now, here's something that I find useful and interesting. In case you hadn't heard, here we are 20 years later, and all of these have different dates. And I literally pulled all these off the internet here in the last day or two. Here's one that says Agile is dead. McKinsey just killed it. And I'm not sure if this one has the date. I want to say it was 2013 on this one. If you have not seen this video on YouTube, I highly recommend you go see it. This is Pragmatic Dave Thomas. He's one of the 17 authors of the Agile Manifesto. I got to see this live when he was kind of in beta here in Dallas, because he lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he's a very colorful speaker. He's really exciting and interesting to listen to. But he has a whole talk where he talks about how Agile is dead, why it's dead, and what we should do about it. So if you haven't seen this, I highly recommend you go, track it down. This one is at the GoTo conference, GoTo 2015. But he has given the same talk at multiple conferences. So I'm sure there are other versions of this online. For any of you who follow Alan Holub, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He's doing a keynote presentation here at a Software Architecture Conference 2014 about the death of Agile. Here we are, Naresh Jain, who's been on the Agile Alliance organizing committee and so forth in 2016, the decline and fall of Agile. Whoa, let's go back to here. Here we have the end of Agile. This is in Forbes magazine. I really like reading some of these things. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I knew the end of Agile was coming when we started using hockey sticks. Every morning at precisely 8 o'clock, a team of developers and architects would stand around a room paneled in whiteboards and would begin passing around a toy hockey stick. When you received the hockey stick, you were supposed to launch into a litany. And then he goes on talking about, obviously making fun about this idea of doing a stand-up routine that is back to this idea of a ceremony, or we're supposed to follow this recipe in order for magic to happen. And if we don't follow the recipe correctly, then magic won't happen. And that's back to the kind of my original experience in talking about what is Agile, and learning that most folks have the opinion and the understanding that Agile is a set of practices. Here's one on the Agile Alliance website. Agile's dead. Oh, by the way, it died really kind of just after it was born. Here's one talking about the death of Agile and beyond, an InfoQ. This is a great website, especially if you're a technologist. They do a lot of technology stuff, but even if you're not, they have a lot of different things that are of interest to folks who are interested in Lean and Agile and human-centered design and a number of other areas. So I highly recommend the website if that's one that you're not currently checking out. Here's one in the Silicon Angle. Agile software is dead, deal with it. It's kind of a great attitude to say, no, this is the way it is. And here we got one that says, have we taken Agile too far? So Harvard Business Review is asking the question, have we just kind of bent and stretched this thing? And you'll hear some of the tone of this article in Dave's talk that I referenced earlier. And then almost everybody here is going to be familiar with Atlassian or some of their tools at some point. And here's a blog article that they have on their website. Is the Agile Manifesto still a thing? Does it still matter? Let's move back over here and look at something else that might be interesting. This is a European Agile consultancy. This is about a year and a half ago now. Half of the companies applying Agile methodology and practices, and that was more of a statement than a question, according to their collection of information. So what does that mean? Let's talk about some details. So how many years has your organization been trying to apply Agile? So we've got everywhere from roughly 20% of the people less than a year, 20% of the organizations, 14, 15% more than 4 years, and 11%. So we've got 25% here in this 3 years or more, and then another 20%, 2 to 3 years. So most of the people here, as of a year ago, are in this the biggest group in this 1 to 2 year period. So of those people, those organizations, what do you think the benefits of Agile? Why are you doing this? Well, 83% believe it improves flexibility and agility. 68% say it improves financial results. And we've got creating a more productive culture, dealing with technological culture, motivating our employees, keeping up with the competition, employee branding, employer branding. Really, that one was a surprise to me. 15% feel like that's a benefit. So how are you doing this? Well, Scrum by far is in lead, and regardless of which source you go from, whether it's Scrum.org or Scrum Alliance or any of these third-party consulting companies, Scrum is always by far the most recognized. Although if you go much further than that, and again, this has nothing to do with certifications, and you start asking people, tell us what you do, what is Scrum? A lot of folks, I don't know that they would meet the expectations of the people who invented Scrum. But we all have all the way down here, we've got, these are kind of the top 5: Scrum, Kanban, Agile Portfolio Management. And I would kind of ask a question, really, does this fit in the same bucket? But this is the way people are answering this question. Safe at around 9 to 10%. And this is, again, a year ago. Less is 4. The statistics that the Scaled Agile framework, scaledagile.com, tends to use will say that they're probably in the 35 to 40% of the market, and they're definitely in the lead for. They're beginning to segment themselves away from Scrum and Kanban and try to say they're in this whole separate Scaled Agile bucket. Less is usually in the 10 to 20% bucket overall, looking at when we tend to get larger groups of statistics. But if we come back down here, this is an interesting survey. But is Agile the new norm? Now, wait a minute. We just got through seeing article after article in the Forbes and the Harvard Business Review over the last 10 years saying Agile's dead, including one of the people who signed the Agile Manifesto. And here we have an article. This article, I believe, is here. It's written in the last year, saying, "But wait a minute, is it the new norm? So is practicing a dead thing the new norm?" I found this to be fascinating. Pure Agile organizations are on the rise. Larry knows for a fact that when people who are in an Agile organization or one that's so-called Agile, and they think that you're telling them that they're not doing something according to the book, or they're not doing something that's as Agile as they should be, the immediate defense for that is, well, we don't do pure Agile. Instead of saying, but what is Agile? And how did you come to this conclusion that that was pure Agile? And it's because it doesn't fit their mindset, their model. Look at this, let's zoom in here, see if we can zoom in as far as Miro will let us. 51% of the organizations, and I think there were 601 development professionals. So 51% of them said they work in an organization that's leaning towards Agile. 16 of them said they're pure Agile. 24% said they're a hybrid. 7 said they're leaning towards waterfall, and 2 said they're pure waterfall. Okay, I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe these numbers? Do these numbers match your experience? That only 2% of the effort out there is pure waterfall, and only 7% is leaning towards waterfall.
No, I bet you it's more.
Yeah, anyone else? Anyone want to take a guess? What would you think is leaning towards waterfall or pure waterfall? Anyone? Maybe you're still on mute.
Maybe like 30 to 40% are waterfallish. I think people think, oh, they have daily stand-ups, so therefore their organization's Agile, and that's
exactly,
that's wrong.
So true.
I think they have a broad definition of leaning towards Agile or hybrid, what that might mean. Like if you have some small practice, hey, we're making some steps towards Agile.
I think you're right. And the reason I think that is not because it's my opinion, it's because of all of the companies that I've worked at or I've done consulting for, and the other former coworkers and friends that I have in the industry who are working for so many different companies. The cross section of feedback we're getting doesn't match this chart at all. But according to this particular survey, in fact, 2/3 describe their company as either pure Agile or leaning towards Agile. And I find that to be, unfortunately, the perception of those companies may actually be that. The reality of the value they're getting from what they believe they're doing that they would call Agile may not quite lived up to that standard. Here's another, this is looking back at history, showing that Agile is accelerating over time. Here we have between 2009 2010 was a big jump. And here we have down here, the data that they're using only goes through 2014, but they're showing that it's definitely on an increasing rise over time. It's interesting, and I do find this to be an interesting angle. What age groups are more optimistic or maybe even have strong preference to work in an Agile environment? A culture that subscribes to Agile values and principles instead of just saying, well, here's the way we do it. You know, we can't do pure Agile. And here's the 24 to 34-year-olds. And you'll notice that as it gets older, the tendency to move towards less Agile and more waterfallish things, even on these statistics, is definitely the trend. And I think that's typical. Again, we've got another angle of looking at, it's difficult for people to change. A lot of people don't want any change. And agility is really about responding to change. So I found this to be interesting. Where's the title here? What are the main things that were motivating? And all of these on this last row are really coming out of the same survey. Enhances collaboration between teams that don't usually work together. Increases the level of software quality. That's interesting. We haven't seen that before. Results in increased customer satisfaction. Shortens time to market. Obviously, that would be useful. And reduces the cost of development. These look a lot more interesting and potentially valuable than that other set we found up here. These look a little more watered down, very generic. These look a little more specific to me, so potentially less suspect. Let's move over here. Where is all this coming from? So my argument, my contention is that this is the Agile Manifesto, not this, both of these. This specifically says these are the principles behind the Agile Manifesto. And having talked to at least half of the folks who signed it myself, and having heard several more in person, the conversations always assume from their standpoint that you're talking about the whole thing. And it's always interesting to have someone say, well, what about principle number 7? And they'll go in. The response comes out, well, 7's related to 4, which if depending on the situation you just gave, is also related to value pair number 2. And so the cross connectivity of how the founders of the Agile Manifesto, the authors of it, view this is really an interconnected. You could almost look at it like a Rubik's Cube or something. Everything is connected in some way to everything else. So a lot of organizations, if they were told they had to do all of these things to even meet the entry level, the white belt level, if we're going all the way to black belt level, the entry level of Agile, very few of them, I think, would be able to say, yeah, we're pure Agile. We've got evidence of all of these, and here's how we can show it to you. That's just not been something that we've been able to see, even in the statistics. It's very common in my experience to see people to say, well, you know, we don't do this, or this doesn't work for us, or we don't like that. Or more common, our management says we have to do this. We have to send TPS reports on the fax machine every Thursday morning before 9:30 a.m. or something bad happens. Well, I don't specifically see TPS reports here, but which principle or value is being invoked in order for us to deal with those TPS reports. And that's for any Office Space fans out there. I don't know which one they're referring to. And so the biggest mistake that I've been a part of unknowingly over time is in introducing new people to Agile, explain a little bit about the Agile Manifesto, talk a little bit about what it is and everything, and then quickly move on to the practices and quickly just bypass all of this detail. I think I've counted it's 267 words for both of these. And then those 267 words, less than 300. Most people's reading speed is about 150, the average person 150 to 200 words per minute. In 2 minutes, you can read the whole thing. The average, that's by far the bulk of people. Why don't we spend more time reading the whole thing? And then why don't we spend time talking about it if this is really what Agile is? And that gets back to my original premise for the Agile Manifesto. I'm sorry, for the 20-day agility challenge. And what I've realized is that a lot of people have different ideas on what Agile is. So what could I do and what have I learned to try that I could maybe help some other folks about? So what is the 20-day agility challenge? So again, it's kind of in honor of the 20th anniversary of the Agile Manifesto. It's intended to expose areas of your understanding of agility that may be missing or just need to be updated in some way. It's also there to help you get rid of ideas that may be holding you back. Beliefs that you've been taught, you've picked up, you've inferred, dots you've connected that aren't really intended to be connected that way by the people who defined this thing and created it, based on obviously their whole body of experience to date and their body of experience since to validate it, and then encourage you to figure out how do you deal with your own personal agility journey? How do you continue to improve? Who can tell me what principle number 12 is without looking at it? Anybody off the top of your head? You get close? Take a guess.
Retrospectives or meeting and reflecting?
Yes. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. According to Alistair Coburn, one of the 17 signers of the Agile Manifesto, and the creator of the Crystal family of methods, according to him in a workshop that I was in, he will tell you that retrospectives are the one single requirement for agility. You can't have agility without retrospectives. You can't have agility without a feedback loop upon which you, on a very a regular frequency, review and then take some action based on what you've reviewed. So he believes in this so heavily that a lot of his material and some of the new things he's been doing the last several years are almost completely based on principle number 12. That's how much he believes in this. So we obviously talk to teams about doing this, and we coach them to do this. Scrum Masters, it's part of Scrum, it's part of XP, it's part of almost every approach. But how do we do that for ourselves? We're not talking about the team. We're not talking about the value in the product we're delivering. We're talking about you as an individual. How do you improve? What's your process for having your own retrospective? That's what we're trying to do here, is start the process and give you a starting point with the 20-day agility challenge, and then let you, go from there. So the overarching theme is for you to confront your thinking and your beliefs about why you believe what you believe about Agile. And it's over a 20-day period. So roughly 3 to 4 weeks. It is 4 weeks, depending on exactly. We'll take weekends out, so you don't have Saturday and Sunday. And the idea is that you can, in roughly 20 to 30 minutes a day, reflect on some aspect of the Agile Manifesto. And the Agile Manifesto is the basis of this. This isn't, what I say or what really anyone else says. It's what the Agile, the authors of the Agile Manifesto said. Everything is taken back and inspected through the lens of the Agile Manifesto. So at a minimum, it's recommended, 20 minutes a day. It takes on average, again, with those average reading speeds, about the longest section of material is about 7 minutes based on average reading speeds. So in 10 minutes, almost everybody's going to be able to definitely consume it. And then, okay, there's some exercises in there, there's some activities and so forth for you to challenge. Why do you think this? Why do you believe this? And that's really the 20-day challenge in a nutshell. Here's the overview of kind of how it works. The day that you register. So if you register on a weekend, the following Monday will be the day number 1 of the challenge. If you register on a weekday, then the next day, at least Sunday through Thursday, the next day would be the first day. So that's day 0. And you're going to get some of the information we're talking about tonight that just describes, again, more detail what the 20-day agility challenge is and how to get ready for it. Day number 1, you just kind of, the idea is let's just reboot things. Let's just start from scratch and let's build things up again. Day number 2, we're going to begin the process of challenging maybe some of the common ways that people look at Agile and agility, and see if maybe there's some question marks there, and you haven't ever stopped to think, or you haven't ever bothered to look at it. Days 3 through 6, every one of the Agile value pairs gets its own day. And so one day you'll look at Agile value pair number 2. The next day you'll look at number 3 and so forth. And then there are 12 days, one for each of the Agile practices, or Agile principles, I'm sorry. And then day 19 is really to go, again, kind of a reflection of everything we've just covered, so that you can kind of begin to see if there's any patterns or any particular things that about yourself and your view of Agile that you're curious about. You want to figure out, how do I make that better? How do I make it stronger? Where else can I go to get some help? Who could I ask? I really did. I thought I had this down. Now I'm not so sure. And that's part of getting better, is being able to ask yourself a question. Confidence is good, but misplaced confidence can become arrogance, and that is not Agile. So we want to figure out, how can we possibly always stay in the point of being humble and curious and learning, because there's a lot about agility that is about learning. And then on day 20, you're really going to say, okay, what's my plan moving forward? I just spent 20 days trying to inspect myself, inspect and adapt. Does that sound familiar to anybody? I'm trying to be transparent with myself, so I'm not lying to myself about how pure Agile I am. And what am I going to do about it now? What's my next step? Maybe you want to go through the 20 Agility Challenge again with some of your team members, and that's a possibility. Maybe you want to pick some area that you focus. I really thought I understood empowering teams and team empowerment, and maybe I don't understand it as well as I thought I did. So that's an area I'm going to focus on, and here's something I can come up and plan. So that's really the idea there, the overall structure of it. Here's kind of answering the question that often comes up. Well, who should bother taking it? Well, the first thing is that to understand that, again, this is not an introduction. Whoops, stop. So this is not to say here's what Agile is for someone who has no reference point. This is for the people who believe they understand something. They've been doing something. As we know, Scrum is the most popular framework, so people have been using Scrum for a while. Great. Highly recommend you now inspect and adapt what you think you believe and understand, and the things that you feel like are solid and good, and they're based on Agile values and principles. Great. Let's continue to build on them. The things that maybe there's some gaps, or I've never really explored what is simplicity? How does it apply to what I do? Simplicity is essential. That's one of the Agile principles. I don't have a lot of simplicity in my Agile universe. How do I get there from here? That might be a great place to start. So this is not for people that are, again, trying to figure out and just be introduced to it. This is for people who've been working with it for a while and wrestling with it and trying to figure out, how do I do this thing better? And that goes for any particular role, team member, product owner, product manager, scrum master, coach, anybody. It doesn't try to differentiate in the 20-day agility challenge. I know in the process of trying to put this together and getting feedback as I went through beta testing it with a number of folks that I highly respect, and giving it to larger and larger groups, to inspect and adapt and give me feedback, I realized that I didn't know things as well as some things as I thought. I realized I was struggling to be able to communicate some things clearly. That's part of the learning process. Is first of all, do I think I understand it? Then, if I think I understand it, can I begin to describe it and verbalize it? That tends to be challenging. And eventually, can I get it to the point where I can describe it to someone else in a relatively simple manner? I can kind of it's not about getting to the point or using fewer words. It's about removing the things that aren't directly related that I'm trying to communicate. And that's always been for me a challenge. And I think that hopefully the 20-day agility challenge can help other folks do that. Now, often folks have this question. Do you think that because you've been doing Agile for a while, back to the whole discussion around being Agile and doing Agile, you've mastered all of this stuff? Maybe you have, but then again, maybe you haven't. And has anyone heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
No? Anyone?
Yeah, that's when if you don't know something, you don't know enough to know that you don't know it.
Not exactly. That's close. Dunning-Kruger effect, and I've got footnotes for all of this stuff in the material to reference. I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay, guess we were just getting some feedback there. The Dunning and Kruger were two psychologists that were inspecting the natural blind side that humans have about their thinking. And in the process, their work began to be used in a slightly, looking at it through a slightly different lens. And now it's commonly used to define when somebody says, okay, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 about, how good you are at this. And I've been doing this for a while. I'm good at Scrum. I'm an 8. I'm easily an 8. Well, okay. Are you really? How do you know? The Dunning-Kruger effect says, in essence, that we naturally rate ourselves higher than what we really are. And it's some kind of built-in blind spot that we have. And if you look at it from a pure content perspective, if for instance you say everything around the world that's known about Scrum, everything, all the books that have been written, all the videos, all the things that haven't been written, but everything that's known by humans about Scrum. Now, how much of that do I know? What percentage of, well, it wouldn't be 80% if I rated myself at an 8. It would be probably considerably less than that. So maybe I'm getting a little more realistic picture. Oh, well, I didn't know you were talking, well, who would be a 10? I mean, seriously, if you're going to say you're at the max, that you're at the top, is it just the 2 guys? Well, it's really 3 guys that created Scrum. No, there would be other people who would be considered master practitioners. Do they consider if they know everything about Scrum? I suspect if they're looking at it again through that continuous learning, they say, no, I still have more to learn. There's still stuff out there I haven't figured out yet. And that's part of what the Dunning-Kruger effect in essence, is it helps us kind of recalibrate ourselves to realize maybe we're not as proficient as we think we are, and gives us an opportunity to say, okay, yeah, you're right. I've got more to learn here. Let's figure out a plan to do that. So here's some reasons to consider taking the 20-day agility challenge. You want to access, your understanding of really where Agile comes from, what it is, where it comes from. I have learned more about Agile and agility by learning the history of the Agile movement, the lightweight software methodologies, the people behind it, than I ever did from taking Agile classes or any training. So I highly recommend that, and a lot of that is built in, referenced, I would say, in the 20-day agility challenge. Maybe you're looking for ways to just improve. I want to get better. Maybe you're one of those people who says, I just can't wait to find that next golden nugget, that next, I want to find that next piece of something that I'm going to be one of the few people who found this first or figured this out. Well, maybe there's something in here. What could it hurt to check it out? Maybe you recognize that the same information presented in different ways actually has value to you or your ability to communicate what Agile is and help other people. You know, maybe you're struggling with some coworkers right now and they just don't understand and you're trying to tell it in different ways. Maybe there's something in the Agile Manifesto that may give you a new way of communicating that might help you out. And then again, if you're a continuous learner, maybe it's just another chance to say, hey, maybe there's something here to learn. In kind of in view of our time here, I'll cover this last one just so you guys can have this information, and then we'll see what questions there are. The 20-day agility challenge is at 20dayagilitychallenge.org. You can go out there and sign up. It's free. Again, there'll be 20 days worth of emails. Essentially, you'll get a PDF each day. We try to make, I very much used a lean startup model. Let's get the simplest thing that could possibly work, and how could I get it in people's hands? And we've talked about all different kinds of other ways to try to expand on this in the future, but we'll see based on the feedback. If you want to be part of a group of people, a whole community, the question came up as this was being built. What if a group of people, I want to take it with a group of people, but I can't find people around me? Well, we have the option of a cohort for doing the 20 Agility Challenge with other people. We created a community for that. The community is around a lot of additional things. It's not limited. The 20 Agility Challenge is just one thing. For instance, we also do conferences. The UACon Unlimited Agility Conference, we've done 3 of them this year. We just earlier November had our 3rd one. So we have lots of different activities. There's lots of different people from all around the world. We just had 2 people join from Iran today in the last couple of days. So just kind of interesting to see where everybody's from and what they're doing in this space. So lots of chances to get to work with other people, ask questions. And then of course we have some other types of events and activities. But these are the 3 websites that should be able to, as long as I didn't have any typos in there, should be able to get you there. And depending on where you guys want to go, we can go in different directions and talk about different things. But I'll stop right there and give you guys a chance for questions or anything in particular you want to talk about.
Derek, this is Rachel. I want to confess something to you, that when I am training people and we always start with the manifesto or the 4 values and then the 12 principles. And I seem to lose people on the principles. Yes. So I rush through them because I can sense that I'm losing people. So what guidance can you give to help, or I can wait for the 20-day challenge to learn about that if that can help. But that does seem to be a place where I start losing the group. So I'm obviously not doing a good job explaining it.
Well, what I'll say is it's not all you. I don't know all the details, but it's definitely not all you. Part of it is the context. One of the things this took me a long time to understand. The Agile Manifesto was written by people who are if we look at it, they were masters. They're wizards. These are people at the top of their profession. They wrote it in terms that while we understand the words, we're not masters, especially as if it's the first time we've seen it. So we're trying to read a document just like you'd read some document that's 3,000 years old. And you might be able to translate the words, but you don't understand the context. You weren't there. You weren't in the room in Snowbird, Utah. You weren't there having piled up, frustrated with all of the waterfall projects and the frustration with not being able to talk to your customer and things that a lot of stuff has shifted in the last 20 years. So that context that they had and their expertise allowed them to craft the very specific wording in the Agile Manifesto in such a way that, again, we look at it and we go, that's so simple. I get it. I know what all those words mean. I'm like, no, you don't. You know what those words mean, but you don't know what they intended. You didn't pick up everything that they included in that. And one of the ways I have had better success is to provide context. so you've got to provide more context around each of those. So I've over years learned how to maybe tell a different story about why each of these principles or values is important. Because I will often, for instance here, well, I don't do anything about negotiating contracts. You know, that's so far removed from me. I don't, what does that have to do with me? Well, guess what? There's a whole day in the 20-day agility challenge that talks about, but you do deal with this. And that's really in the same bucket. It has the same intent from the Agile Manifesto's authors. It's not everything. Again, nothing. The intent of the 20-day agility challenge is not to cover everything or to make everybody a master. It's intended to be a mirror so that you can reflect what you believe about Agile against the Agile Manifesto. And it's intended to help you see if there's something about yourself that you feel like you would like to change and improve. And because you're seeing a more accurate reflection of agility from the Agile Manifesto. So, but as far as coaching it and teaching it, I think there's a whole other set of things, and that's not really part of the 20-day agility challenge, at least as it is today. But happy to talk about that, you know, separately and everything. But I don't know if that helps or not to maybe make a few of those points.
It does help. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Maybe we have time for one more question, then I guess we can wrap. So anyone else? Any other questions for Derek?
I have one quick question. This is Larry. So Derek, when I go out to 20-day agility challenge and I do each day and I learn, at the end of 20 days, am I then a master? Am I done with 20-day agility challenge and never have to do it again because now I know?
The answer is no. And I will tell you that I'm actually going through the 20-day agility challenge myself again. And I've already found, and this has been edited a million times by all kinds of people, and none of us have found things that in there that are not just grammar and typos. There's concept errors. There's sentences that weren't quite lined up. And so as kind of the author of the material, I want it to be as good as it can be. But I'm also going through there and saying, have I learned anything since the last time I went through here? Is there anything I've learned that might be able to make this clearer? And a few places I think I've been able to make those small adjustments. And it's intended to go back to that principle number 12. So the first time through the 20 agility challenge is definitely what do I see in myself, and how is there something here that I might want to adjust and recalibrate to? And it may be big, it may be small. Only you can say that. This really gets into how transparent are you with yourself? How much do you really listen and trust yourself, or how much do you kind of fool yourself? But then maybe you want to go through it again with someone else, and maybe some of that discussion. And as you know, Larry, in the cohort, some of that discussion causes you to think about something differently, because somebody else's experience and context is not anything you've experienced before. So maybe that value or principle, I can look at it through an additional lens and see something new about myself or how I want to view that. So that's really to answer your question. No, definitely won't make you a master. It's just intended to make us all a little better.
Thank you.
All right. So I think that's about all we have time for tonight. We'll start to wrap it up. So first of all, Derek, I want to sincerely thank you for joining us. It's very, very informative. Definitely looking forward to taking the challenge myself. Everyone should have email from us, Agile Hartford, for a survey for tonight's event, along with a link to the 20-day agility challenge if you're interested, and also more information on the December events. So some of you have 2 emails. There's a subtle hint. So act on that if you'd like. Otherwise, please help me and thank Derek for his time tonight. And Derek, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Anytime you guys let me know how I can help. Anything I can do to help.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Derek.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Everyone. We'll see you in December. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.